I was eating lunch when my phone lit up with a name I had trained myself not to look for. My brother. 15 years of nothing. No calls. No texts. No explanation for why he stopped speaking to me after our father's funeral. I stared at the screen until the call went to voicemail. He called again immediately. That was when I knew he needed something. People do not call twice after 15 years unless they are out of options. I answered on the third ring. He did not say hello. He said, "I need you to sign something." No, how are you? No, I know it has been a long time. No apology. Just a request. 15 years of silence, and the first words out of his mouth were about what he needed from me. I sat there with my sandwich in my hand, and I listened to him explain. An inheritance thing. Our aunt had passed. He did not tell me. She left something that required both of our signatures. He had been trying to handle it without me. He could not. So he called. I asked why he did not tell me she was sick. He went quiet. Then he said he did not think I would care. I asked why he thought that. He said because I had not called him either. I told him I stopped calling after the first year. After he let every ring go to voicemail and never called back. He had nothing to say to that. So he repeated what he needed. The signature. I told him I would think about it. He said he needed it by Friday. I hung up. That was 3 hours ago. I am still sitting here with the phone in my hand. 15 years of silence, and now he needs me. The question is not whether I will sign. The question is what I say to him when I finally decide to speak. Our father died on a Wednesday in June. I remember the heat. I remember standing at the graveside in a suit that did not fit right. Derek stood next to me. 2 years older. Our father's favorite. Everyone knew it. Even Derek knew it. He did not look at me during the burial. He did not speak to me at the reception. I thought he was grieving. I gave him space. I thought space was what he needed. I was wrong about a lot of things back then. A week passed, then a month. I called him on what would have been our father's birthday. He let it ring until voicemail. I left a message asking if he was okay. I said I was thinking about him. I said maybe we could get dinner soon. He never called back. I called again the next week. Nothing. I sent a text. No response. I stopped calling after the first year. Not because I stopped caring. Because calling someone who never answers starts to feel like begging. And I was not going to beg my own brother to love me. I asked our mother what I had done. She said Derek was dealing with things in his own way. I asked what things. She would not say. She said Derek was private. She said he needed time. She said I should not take it personally. 15 years later, I still did not know what I had done. The silence had become its own answer. Whatever he was angry about, he had decided I was not worth explaining it to. Not worth a conversation. Not worth a fight. Not worth a single sentence that might have cleared everything up. He just disappeared from my life like I had never been his brother at all. And our mother watched it happen and told me to be patient. I was patient for 15 years. That is the part one keep coming back to. I was patient for 15 years, and he did not call until he needed something. That is not grief. That is not privacy. That is something else entirely. Something I'm only starting to understand now, that he is the one waiting for me to answer. I stopped asking about Derek after year 5. There was no point. My mother would still mention him sometimes. His job at the engineering firm. His wife, whose name I learned from a Christmas card she sent me that Derek clearly did not sign. His 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I listened and said nothing. She was not telling me for my benefit. She was telling me because she could not hold both of us in her head at the same time without saying his name out loud. She needed me to know he was fine so she could feel fine. I let her have that. I got married when I was 34. Small ceremony. My wife's parents. A few friends. My mother sat in the front row. Derek did not come. He did not RSVP. He did not acknowledge the invitation at all. I looked at the empty chair on my side of the aisle, and I realized I had stopped being surprised. That was the worst part. Not the absence. The predictability of it. Of course he did not come. He had not spoken to me in 7 years. Why would a wedding change anything? My daughter was born 2 years later. Derek did not call. He did not text. He did not send a onesie or a stuffed animal or a card with a generic message about congratulations on your new arrival. Nothing. I held my daughter in the hospital, and I thought about how Derek had children I had never met. niece, and nephew I would not recognize if I passed them on the street. That was the kind of family we had become. Strangers who shared blood and nothing else. I bought a house last year. Fixed it up. Painted the living room. Derek sent nothing. Not a housewarming gift. Not a text. Not a single word. Each milestone made the silence louder. Not because I expected him to show up. I stopped expecting anything from him years ago. Because the absence of his name on invitations and cards and calls became its own presence. A hole in the shape of a brother who decided I was not worth speaking to. And the hole did not get smaller with time. It just got more familiar. My mother once said Derek was stubborn. We were sitting at her kitchen table. I had asked her for the 10th time if she knew why he stopped talking to me. She said he was stubborn. I said there was a difference between stubborn and cruel. She did not argue. She also did not defend me. She just stirred her tea and looked out the window. That was when I understood something I had been trying not to see. My mother had spent 15 years protecting direct silence. Not asking him to explain. Not pushing him to call. Not telling him he was wrong. Just letting the silence sit there like a piece of furniture no one wanted to move, because moving it would mean admitting it should not be there in the first place. She chose his comfort over my questions. She had been choosing it for 15 years, and I had been letting her. I tried once. Year 7. Christmas Eve. I had been drinking. Not drunk. Just enough to convince myself that showing up at his house unannounced was a good idea. I drove to Derek's house. A nice house in a neighborhood I had only seen in photos my mother showed me. I parked on the street. I walked up the driveway. I knocked on the door. His wife opened it. She knew who I was. I could see on her face. The recognition. The discomfort. She said Derek was not home. I saw his car in the driveway. I saw the lights on inside. I saw the outline of someone moving past the window. She closed the door. That was it. No explanation. No excuse. Just a closed door and a car in the driveway that proved she had just lied to my face. I drove home and sat in my car for 20 minutes before going inside to my own family. My wife asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I was not fine. I was humiliated. I had gone looking for a brother who did not want to be found, and I had found exactly what I deserved for still hoping. I did not try again after that. The message was clear. He was not interested in being found. He was not interested in explaining. He was not interested in me at all. His wife closed the door on Christmas Eve, and I finally understood that I had been chasing a ghost. Not because Derek was dead, because the person I wanted to talk to no longer existed. Whoever was living in that house with his car in the driveway and his kids inside was not my brother. My brother would have opened the door. My brother would have said something. Anything. Even if it was angry. Even if it was cruel. At least it would have been real. I told myself I was done after that. I told myself I had grieved him like he had died. I stopped asking my mother about him. I stopped looking for his name in my messages. I stopped hoping he would show up at my daughter's birthday parties or my anniversary dinners. I buried him somewhere in the back of my mind next to the other things I could not fix. But dead people do not have phone numbers that show up on your screen 15 years later. Dead people do not call you when they need a signature. I had spent 7 years mourning a man who was alive, and then 8 more years pretending he did not exist. And now he was on my phone asking for something. Not forgiveness, not a conversation, not an explanation, just a signature. The same man who would not open his door on Christmas Eve wanted me to sign a piece of paper so he could get something he needed. I sat at my kitchen table, and I looked at his name on my recent calls, and I wondered what kind of person waits 15 years to reach out and still cannot say hello. Derek left a voicemail after I answered the phone and said nothing. I picked up. I heard him say my name. I did not respond. I just listened. He said hello again. Then he started talking. His voice sounded older. Tired, different from the brother I remembered. He said he was selling our father's property, the one our father left to both of us. Joint ownership. He could not sell without my signature. He needed me to call him back. Then he hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand. Our father's property, an old cabin up north. Our father had taken us there as kids every summer. Fishing, swimming, sitting on the porch while it rained. Derek had stopped going after high school. He said it was boring. He said there was nothing to do. I had kept going until the year our father died. I went alone, sat on the porch by myself, caught fish I did not keep. I stopped going after the funeral. The cabin reminded me of things I had lost. Not just our father. The brother who used to sit next to me on that porch and not say a word, and it did not feel like silence back then because we did not need words. I looked up the property online. The cabin was worth money. Not life-changing money, but enough. Enough to matter. Enough for Derek to pick up the phone after 15 years and call the brother he had been ignoring. I stared at the listing, and I felt something cold move through my chest. He had not mentioned the cabin in 15 years. He had not asked if I wanted to sell it. He had not asked if I wanted to visit it. He had not asked if I remembered the summers we spent there before he decided I was not worth speaking to. He had simply waited until he needed something from me. That was the whole call. That was the whole reason he broke 15 years of silence. Not guilt, not remorse, not a sudden desire to have a brother again. Just a transaction. I thought about his wife closing the door on Christmas Eve. I thought about every unanswered call and every unreturned text. I thought about my daughter asking why she did not have an uncle like her friends did. I had made excuses for him for years. He is busy. He is going through something. He'll come around eventually. But there was no eventually. There was just a voicemail from a tired man who needed me to sign a piece of paper so he could sell a cabin I loved and never once asked if I wanted to say goodbye to it first. Does he think 15 years of silence can be undone with one phone call about money? Or does he simply not care what I feel? I do not know which answer is worse. I called Derek back that night. I sat in my garage. I did not want my wife to hear the conversation. I did not want her to see me talk to a man who had treated me like a stranger for 15 years. He answered on the first ring, like he had been holding the phone, waiting for me to call. He did not ask how I was. He did not ask about my wife or my daughter. He asked if I had looked at the documents. I asked why he had not spoken to me for 15 years. He paused. I could hear him breathing. Then he said it. Dad left you the cabin. He left me everything else. I was angry. Our father's will. I had not thought about the will in years. Our father left me the cabin because I was the one who kept going there. The one who loved it. Derek had stopped going when he was 17. He said it was boring. He said he hated the drive. He had not set foot in that cabin for over a decade before our father died. But when the will was read, he did not see fairness. He saw favoritism. He thought he should have gotten everything. The cabin was mine. The rest was his. The house, the savings, the car, everything else. Derek had been angry at our father for dividing things unevenly. But our father was dead, so he made me the target instead. 15 years of silence because a dead man left me a cabin his older son did not want until he could not have it. I asked why he was selling now. He said he needed the money. I asked if he had ever planned to tell me about the cabin. He said he was telling me now. That was not an answer. He was telling me now because he needed my signature. Not because he wanted to fix anything. Not because he missed me. Not because he had spent 15 years thinking about how he had thrown away his only brother over a piece of property he did not even want until her father died. He was telling me now because he needed something. The same as always. The same as the phone call. The same as the voicemail. Everything Derek did was about what Derek needed. I sat in my garage with the phone against my ear, and I realized he had not changed at all. He was still angry. He was still blaming me for something I did not do. He just needed me more than he hated me. And that was not reconciliation. That was desperation wearing a familiar face. I told Derek I would not sign. Not yet. He went quiet on the other end of the line. I could hear him waiting. He asked what I wanted, not what it would take. What I wanted. Like he'd never considered that I might want something from him besides money or property or a signature. I said I wanted him to explain why 15 years of silence was fair. He said nothing was fair. Our father had played favorites. I said our father was dead. Derek was the one who chose to continue the game. Our father made a decision about a cabin 20 years ago. Derek had made a decision every day for 15 years to ignore his brother. That was not our father. That was him. He had no one to blame for the silence but himself. He asked what it would take. Not what I wanted anymore. What it would take. He was negotiating now, trying to find the lowest price for my signature. I thought about my daughter. How she had asked me once why she did not have an uncle. How I had told her some families are complicated. How she had accepted that answer because she was 8 and she trusted me. I told Derek I wanted him to meet my daughter. He said that was not what he asked. I said it was my answer. He hung up. I sat in the garage and waited. I did not know if he would call back. I did not know if I cared. 15 years of silence, and now I was the one holding something he needed. Not the cabin, not the signature, his chance to get what he wanted. And I was not going to give it to him for free. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted him to see what he had been ignoring. My daughter was not a bargaining chip. She was the reason I was still willing to try. If he could look at her and still walk away, then I would sign the papers and never speak to him again. But at least I would know. At least I would have given him one real chance to be something other than the man who closed the door on Christmas Eve. He called back an hour later. He said he would meet her. One time. That was all. He said it like he was granting me a favor. Like meeting his own niece was a concession he was making under duress. I said okay, but I did not say it like I was grateful. I said it like someone who finally understood that my brother had spent 15 years confusing his pain with power. He thought silence was a weapon he could use against me. He did not realize that silence had cut him too. He just could not feel it yet, because he had never been the one waiting by the phone. I'm over at where silence ends. Subscribe if any of this sounds familiar. I hung up. I went inside. My daughter was watching TV on the couch. I sat down next to her, and she leaned her head on my shoulder. I did not tell her about the call. I did not tell her she was going to meet her uncle soon. I just sat there and let her be small next to me. Derek had 15 years to meet her. He was getting one afternoon. I was not going to let him waste it, but I was also not going to let him pretend that one afternoon fixed anything. The signature was still on my desk, unsigned, waiting to see what kind of man my brother really was when he was not asking for something over the phone. Derek came to my house on a Saturday. He brought his wife. He did not bring his kids. I noticed that immediately. He had 2 children, a boy and a girl. My daughter had cousins she had never met. He did not bring them. He came alone, except for his wife, who stood by the door like she was waiting for something to go wrong. My daughter was 7. She came into the living room, where we were all standing in awkward silence. She looked at Derek. She asked who he was. I said, your uncle. She said she did not know she had an uncle. Derek heard that. His face changed. Not dramatically, just a small shift. Something behind his eyes that looked like he had just been handed a bill he did not know he owed. We sat in the living room. Derek did not look at me. He looked at my daughter. She sat across from him on the floor with her legs crossed. She asked him questions. What was his favorite color? He said blue. Did he have kids? He said yes. A boy and a girl. Why had she never met him before? That question hung in the air. Derek looked at his hands. He said he had been busy. My daughter said being busy for 7 years was a long time. She was 7. She did not understand what she was saying. But Derek answered each question like it cost him something. Like every answer was a small payment on a debt he did not want to acknowledge. After she went to play, I asked Derek if he understood what he had missed. He said he understood. I asked if he was sorry. He said he was sorry our father had done this to us. Not sorry for what he had done. Sorry for what our father had done. He was still deflecting, still pointing at a dead man instead of looking at himself. 15 years of silence, and he could not say the words. I am sorry. I was wrong. I should not have blamed you. None of it came. Just the same old story about our father and the cabin and how unfair everything had been. I signed the papers. I did not say goodbye when he left. He walked out with his wife, and I closed the door behind him. My daughter came back into the room and asked if her uncle would come again. I said I did not know. She said he seemed sad. I said he probably was. She asked if I was sad. I thought about it. I said I was not sad anymore. I was something else. Something that did not have a name yet. Something that felt like closing a door and not waiting to see if anyone knocked. Derek had 15 years to knock. He showed up for signature. That was not the same thing. And I was done pretending it was. My mother called me after Derek told her I signed. She said she was glad we had worked it out. I asked what there was to work out. She paused. She said she knew it had been hard. I said she did not know anything because she had never asked. She had spent 15 years watching her sons not speak to each other. She had watched me sit alone at holidays while Derek made other plans. She had watched him ignore every birthday and every milestone and every chance to be a brother. And she had never once asked him why. She had just told me to be patient, to give him time, to not take it personally. I asked her if she had ever defended me to him. She said it was not her place. I said that was the problem. No one ever thought it was their place to tell Derek he was wrong. So he kept being wrong, and I kept being patient, and nothing ever changed. She said I should not be bitter. I said I was not bitter. I was accurate. There's a difference. Bitter is holding on to something you cannot change. Accurate is naming what happened so you do not have to carry it anymore. I was not carrying Derek. I had signed the papers. I had let him meet my daughter. I had done everything he asked, and he had still not said he was sorry. Not once. Not for the 15 years. Not for the closed door on Christmas Eve. Not for making me explain to my 7-year-old why she had an uncle she had never met. He said thanks in a text message. Thanks. Like I had loaned him a tool he needed for a project. Not like I had given him the only thing he could not get anywhere else. My signature. My time. My daughter. My patience. All of it for a text message that said thanks. Derek sent me a text the next week. Just the word thanks. No punctuation. No follow-up. No how is your daughter. No maybe we can do this again sometime. Just thanks. I did not reply. He has not contacted me since. That was 4 months ago. He got what he wanted. The cabin is gone. Sold to someone who will probably knock it down and build something new. I do not know. I did not ask. I stopped checking. My daughter asked about him once. She asked if her uncle was coming back. I said I did not know. She said okay and went back to her drawing. That was it. No tears. No disappointment. Just acceptance. Children understand silence better than adults. They do not fill it with hope. They do not invent reasons why someone might change. They just see what is in front of them. And what was in front of her was a man who came to our house, once looked at her for an hour, and then left. She did not know about the 15 years before that. She did not know about the phone calls and the closed door and the inheritance. She just knew that her uncle came once and did not come back. And she was fine with that, because she had never learned to expect anything from him. I'm trying to learn that too. To stop expecting. To stop hoping. To stop wondering if Derek will ever realize that the cabin was never the thing he lost. He lost a brother. He lost 15 years of birthdays and holidays and Sunday afternoons. He lost watching my daughter grow up. He lost the chance to be someone she loved. And he will never know he lost any of it because he is still standing at our father's grave, blaming a dead man for everything. The cabin is sold. The papers are signed. Derek got what he wanted. And I'm finally done waiting for him to understand what he traded away to get it. I kept one thing. The cabin. Derek wanted to sell it to a stranger. I offered to buy his half. He asked how much. I told him. He took the money. No negotiation. No questions about what I planned to do with it. He just took the check and walked away. That was the last time I saw him. He has not asked about the cabin since. He has not asked if I fixed the roof or replaced the dock or painted the shutters. He does not care. He never did. He just wanted the money. I take my daughter there every summer now. She catches frogs in the creek behind the cabin. She names them. She lets them go. She asks if her uncle ever played here when he was a kid. I say yes. She asks if he was happy. I say I do not know. That is the truth. I do not know if Derek was ever happy at this cabin. I thought he was when we were young, but he stopped coming when he was 17. He said it was boring. Maybe it was. Maybe he was already practicing the silence he would use on me later. I will never know. Derek does not answer questions. He just sends text messages with one word and waits for me to do the work of understanding him. I stopped doing that work. The cabin is mine now. The questions are mine too. I am learning to live with both. Derek's anger was never about me. I have turned that sentence over in my head 1,000 times since that day in my living room. He was angry at our father. Our father was dead, so he aimed all of that anger at the nearest target. I spent 15 years wondering what I had done wrong. I went through every conversation and every fight and every moment we had ever shared looking for the mistake I must have made. The answer was nothing. I did nothing wrong. I was just standing in the place where my brother wanted to aim his grief. He needed someone to blame. I was there. That was the whole reason. Not because of something I said or something I did. Just because I existed in the space between him and the man he could not forgive. That should have made me feel better. It did not. It just made the silence feel more random, more meaningless, more like something that happened to me instead of something I caused. I'm not sure which is worse, being blamed for something you did, or being blamed for nothing at all. The cabin has a dock. My daughter likes to sit at the end of it and put her feet in the water. She talks to me while she does it, tells me about her friends and her school and the dream she had last night. I sit behind her and watch the sun move across the lake. I do not think about Derek most days. He is not part of my life anymore. He made that choice 15 years ago. I just finally accepted it. But sometimes I think about how silence does not heal anything. It just gives you more time to practice being alone. Derek practiced for 15 years. He got very good at it. My daughter will never practice that. Not on my watch. She will never wonder what she did wrong. She will never search for a reason in a pile of memories that do not exist. She will just know that her father sat behind her on a dock and listened to everything she had to say. That is not silence. That is the opposite of silence. And I had to lose a brother to understand the difference. I'm over at where silence ends. What would you want your sibling to know if they walked away for 15 years and never explained why?